Hello, John.
Hello, Bolivar.
So we're going to talk about the lockdown and how it has affected churches and people can't go to mass and there's people giving out about it.
Yes, we've had the business of lockdown since February, and now we're December, we're damn near a year. And it's been varying from, we'll say mild, they call it level, like as if you're going up in a lift. And you've level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they had the 5 business there for quite a bit, and that meant everything was kind of closed. I think there were some places open, shops I think was open, supermarkets. And then sometimes you saw a queue, and then other ones there was no queue. You just in, you went and did your business, and there was none of this I would call. But then they expect you to wear a mask, and they made it now the usual fear business. You're putting others at risk, and this kind of chronology. Not everybody likes to wear a mask because it interferes with their breathing, and they feel a certain age group, and I'm one of them, I feel a bit peculiar going around with something on top of my nose and face and going around like, I don't know what. A clown, I think, is what I think of. Anyway, the lockdown, to put it in a nutshell, the churches were closed and then limited to numbers, and only maybe 2 in a seat and this, that and the other, and wash your hands or fumigate or do something with them going in and going out and all around the rest of it. All this precautions. Now, there's been diseases that killed many people. TB, smallpox, all sorts of diseases, diphtheria that was fatal. And young people died from it, meningitis. And I know a 13-year-old that died from it, and just come all of a sudden, one of the customers I was dealing with when I was into the insurance.
13 years old.
13 years old, lovely family, and a terrible sad affair. Because when you're calling to people's houses, as I was, and that every week, you got to know people even better than any parish priest, because you got to know their problems and that, and I certainly knew them all. And what they were up to, and what happened to them, and they were good. Most 90% of them were decent, even if they weren't. And some of them were good Catholics, but mightn't have been gone, but they had good principles. Even ones that might have looked to the outside as if they were not what I knew them to be, which was good. Now, with the lockdown, then what's happening then? You have physical and mental problems of people. You've also got in families that now are stuck together, husbands and wives and children, and there is danger there, because not every family is so well adjusted that they're able to cope with these things. Husbands and wives can have difficulties with one another, and children can be so demanding that it can lead to tension. And then you've got all these things, and so there has been problems, and apparently in some jurisdictions, and this would be no different, psychological, mental problems has occurred with young people from the age practically of 6 up. A big increase in needing some kind of help. And I think they're not able to cope with it. This has happened in other countries, and we don't hear about it here, but it has happened. Because they don't report these things here. They spend their time talking about COVID as if there's nothing else in the world. And this is how they've been singing for the past nearly a year. And they're not seem to be able to deal with the issues. I don't know what it is that this permanent isolation and wearing masks has to be so for such a long time. I think, for example, if we weren't in the EU, where money has been provided, which will have to be paid, and it'll be the children that coming up that's not maybe even born yet, and they will be born, it's them that'll have to pay, because You don't get money from the EU for nothing. There's a payback time, the same as if this government gives you money here, you're obliged to toe the line. This is why hospitals now, some of them, some refuse but have to provide abortion, kill babies by abortion, even in so-called maternity hospitals. It's an absolute disgrace, but that's a separate matter. Anyways, but the fact that the churches have been closed and then now limited, and in our local church there's an extra mass or two, but you have to get a ticket, and I got 2 tickets. So for to be guaranteed to go up to a particular mass. So this is what this isolation and lockdown has caused. And now there's a vaccine that has gone into Britain, but we're in the EU, so as usual they'll be having meetings and all the rest of it, and be the time to say okay, and we might get it next year. And but then you've one saying that it mightn't be the be all, it still might have to have this isolation. So they've got in the habit of ordering people about in this way. And I say, if they weren't in the EU and they had to pay for that themselves, I wonder would we have had that lockdown and isolation for so long. I doubt it.
That's a good point.
So the thing is that the bishops, because in the country, that because they're sort of so, what's the word? They
Lax.
Lax. They don't have the clout, and not so much the clout, the spiritual assurance that they need to have to direct to deal with the issues in the country, to condemn what has happened by way of abortion, same-sex marriage. They're keeping quiet about these things. They're keeping quiet about all the lapsed Catholics. You cannot do that. You are neglecting your duty. So I pray for the Holy Spirit to guide them, and for to speak out and not be looking for popularity of any kind, to do what they're supposed to do, which is try and bring souls, people, that they can be saved, and their souls can, because you're made in the image and likeness of God when you're born, your soul. We don't hear any talk about that. I don't even hear it in the Catholic Church, but I did hear it over the years. So when churches are locked down, people are not getting the nourishment that they need, and now maybe people that were actually going to Mass might now adopt the policy of looking at it on television, and you're not partaking in the community. The churches are there to take for the people to come together as a community and say their prayers. You have to say prayers. You can't expect to save your soul if you don't say prayers for those that have died. And say prayers. That's the way you nourish things. That's the way you nourish anything. If you plant something on the ground and don't water it or do anything, it's not going to live. And the same way with your spirit, your soul. If you don't water it, it won't live. You're going on the wide road to perdition. We don't hear this. So anyways, what I'm saying is categorically, those churches should never be closed. They're taking enough precautions with what I see. I think it's overdone, because when you're saying your prayers and you're in touch with the Holy Spirit, that'll be enough to save you. And
okay.
So anyways, I hope that they're going to stay open now, and none of this and more nonsense from this government about way of another 5 and that. I mean, how long does it take them to deal with this issue of the COVID? I mean, they should be on top of it by now, shouldn't they? I mean, any problem that you have in life, if it's running on for that length of time and business is closed and people suffering depression, I think the people, because half them is suffering. I see the vacant look in their eyes as they're going about.
Yeah, but look, I suppose they're dealing with a virus, and if you look at the AIDS virus, that's been going on since 1976. 46 million people have died.
Aye, but now it was all in the media for a long time, and it's supposed to come from mosquitoes or something in Africa. But whatever way it did, it come from homosexual behaviour apparently, and it still comes from that. And of course, it also comes from people that have too many sexual partners. You can't do things like that. That is self. You've got to think of others and think of yourself too. You're a mortal soul. So these things are not being told to people, and they're not being reminded. They have to be reminded. They're told something different. So this is where the church is closed down, and the bishop's not given that guidance and calling a spade a spade.
Thank you very much, John.
You're welcome.